Welcome to Don't Quote Me on That. One day we will have an intro, but today is not that day.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Kalina.
And Elanor.
And welcome back to Don't Quote Me on That, where we talk.
Yes. And we thought it would be fitting to come back from our little hiatus with a One Direction episode because they are absolutely coming back from their hiatus, especially after what we're talking about today.
Oh, yeah, actually, this was the best publicity, stunt anyone could have pulled.
Oh, absolutely. So, today Kalina has given me the reins, and I will be giving her the lowdown on the Liam Payne stuff that happened. It happened about a week ago. We were just waiting to see if maybe there were more statements about it. But really, what there was is just a lot of good TikToks.
When it happened,
Which honestly,
I opened TikTok, and that was the first thing I had seen on my phone for the day. Was just a TikTok of someone reading tweets about it. And that was all the information I needed. I really didn't look into it beyond that.
no, well, that's because you have me, right?
Yeah, I was like, oh, you know who's going to be perfect to give me the information? Trusted Elanor.
So, before we start, a little background. I wrote my thesis on One Direction, so I'm a little bit involved. Kalina.
Tell him about the tattoos.
Oh yes, I also have quite a few One Direction tattoos. I don't regret them yet, but honestly, I do regret that one of them is modeled after one of Liam's, but we will digress. For those uninitiated, Kalina, One Direction was a boy band put together on the UK X Factor in 2010. It was 5 boys who tried out as solo artists. They got put together as a band, came in third, got a record deal anyway. Pretty much we're on a cycle of album touring with very little breaks for 5 years. In 2015, one of the members left the band. That was kind of the first big controversy. And then a year later, the 4-piece went on an 18-month hiatus that continues to this day. And every member now has at least one album out solo.
We must forgive them. I think they started Fame early, so math is not their strong suit.
I would have to agree. I don't think any of them actually finished school.
Yeah. Or maybe they meant 18 year, but then they put month and it was too late to go back and fix it, so they're just running with it.
I think what happened is they had a vague discussion about how long it would last, and then they were put on the spot in an interview, and one of them was 18 months, and the rest of them were like, well, we can't say no after that, but they did not mean it.
They're like, that's not the number we agreed on, but okay.
Yes, so some people still have hope. I think that in maybe 20 years or something, we'll get a little reunion show. I'm not sure we'll get new music, but I think at some point enough of the members will have run out of money that they will need to do some sort of reunion thing.
Listen, I think there's a very specific time frame in which reunion things can work. Don't ask me for specific times, but I think either 18 months is a good little area, maybe a year or two after you break up. But then after that middle period is you gotta wait a while before I think it make right now I don't think it would make sense, no. A 5-10 year, but maybe 10, once you hit 10, around then would be a good time to bring it back.
Yeah, and it does kind of depend on the band specifically. I think Fall Out Boy, their kind of big hiatus started, I believe, around the same time they all became fathers. So, that had an impact. So it does kind of depend on the band specifically. Or like My Chemical Romance, where one of the reasons they got back into it was because they were all on lockdown, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. This also, Kalina gets to bring up her favorite band, the Eagles.
Always.
And my favorite Eagles album is the Hell Freezes Over album, which is like a live performance they did, and it was like a reunion. And before one of the songs, Glenn Fry goes, "For the record, we never broke up. We just took a 14-year vacation." So that's One Direction's just pulling up the Eagles.
Exactly.
And like, you know what, the Eagles did have a lot of problems and like some infighting, so like they're just, I can't believe I'm saying this, but One Direction will be the next Eagles.
I hope so. That's my plan.
I hope not. I can't believe I just said that.
Nope, you said it, and now I have to get
No,
that
I
on
can't
a
take
shirt.
it back.
No, you cannot. It's on the internet forever.
No, you know those shirts that are like, oh, you have like a Twilight shirt, but it's photos of One Direction. I'm gonna get one that's like, I guess I should do photos of the Eagles, but it'll say One Direction, and then you have one that's photos of One Direction, but it says the Eagles on it.
Honestly, I'm 100% down for that. I have a job now, and I believe I have what the kids call disposable income.
Eleanor's got a big girl job.
I do. That is.
I didn't think you'd get a big girl job before I did.
You have.
I mean, I have a like an adult job, but like I wouldn't call it like, it's not like a traditional big girl job.
It's not, but I think we both kind of, our first jobs out of college were things that we really wanted to do. So I think on that level, we're equal.
No, yeah, we do have adult jobs. It's not like me working at the tourist place on
weekend. I got an
like,
office job.
Yeah, so.
Essentially. But.
And I got a weird office, but I got an office job too. I'm there every day.
You are there every day. Anyway. So, a few things to preface this. Zayn Malik is the only non-white member of One Direction, and unfortunately this does come into play.
He just can't leave us alone.
I believe
I'm here to be the voice of the people.
Pakistani, but I might be wrong, so let me just check on that.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that word before.
What? Pakistan?
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Well, yeah, I don't. Yeah, like I know. That's just not how I would say it.
What do you say?
I say Pakistan.
Okay, all right. That's fair. I'm also the only white member of this podcast, so sometimes I'm going to say things wrong, but I try my best.
No, I'm not trying to make fun. No, it was interesting. I don't think I've ever heard you say that word. I live in a place right now where English is not the primary language, and so sometimes I'll be talking to someone, and they'll ask me like how to pronounce something that they've just said, and let me tell you, I am not good with pronunciation. First of all, I think I pronounce things weird. I've been told that I like speak very properly, and then also my parents speak well. Well, my mom speaks really well, and my dad does know how to say words in English, right? But so I think
yeah, your parents both didn't. Well, your dad grew up speaking, Jamaican English, and your mom.
Yeah.
So you didn't come from a 100% English-speaking household.
Yes,
there were
and like definitely not like American
factors.
English. Yeah, so like it's a mix of American English and British English. But yesterday, someone said to me, she's like, "Is it pass or I don't." She said the A differently in the word, and like if you're passing a ball, right? Mm-hmm. And she asked me which was the correct pronunciation, and then my brain short circuited for like 30 seconds. I was like, and like I'm in my head, I'm like pass. And then so I just always settle with. I was like, either works. Either whatever one you say, I know what word you mean.
It's a little bit not the same at all with me, but my mom grew up not in the United States, so she also she uses like the English word, like England English word for things. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was a little kid, I obviously I didn't know the difference because my whole family does it because that's kind of where they lived for a while. Kids are not nice about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that's why no one was mean to me about it, but I think that's why people said I probably spoke very properly, because even though my dad's English isn't like standard English, Jamaica was obviously ruled by the British, so like a lot of things are British English versus American English, so like, or like how we write the dates, like all stuff like that.
Oh my God. I remember we had to write the date on papers in school, and I usually did day, month, year.
Yeah.
Someone had to grade, we like swapped papers and graded them in 7th grade. And one guy tried to get me like knocked points off because that's how I wrote the date.
My life hack was I would write out the like I would like write out the month. So I would write out June 2nd, comma, whatever year it was. Like I would write out the month in words just to be safe.
Well, I would do like 3 June 20 whatever, and he just, I don't know what was wrong. He did not, and the teacher had to, at some point the teacher had to come over and be like,
dude,
first of all, you don't even get graded for the date.
Like if you put the numbers, like I don't agree with his argument, but I can see, but like if you wrote out June, like that's just him being difficult. Anyway, speaking of British people.
Yes, okay. So
One Direction's British.
Also, do you know how, I think you and I both experienced this, like when your grandpa says something that it's a little insensitive.
Yes.
And part of you is like, he needs to learn, but the other part of you is like, he's 100 years old. I've said it before. You can only say it so many times before you have to just learn how to ignore it.
Yeah, you just kind of have the same conversation 3 times before you gotta let it go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's how Liam Payne has been the entirety of everything.
But he's not 100 years old.
But he is not 100 years old. But there are just a lot of his, I don't want to say controversy, but there were some instances in the band where he would tweet something or say something in an interview, and like, you kind of knew where he was coming from and why he said it the way that he said it, but it just, like, there was one point where he tweeted about how much he loved the Duck Dynasty family, and then everyone was like, hey, that family is like blatantly homophobic and like proud about it. And then he tweeted out and he was like, guys, I didn't mean that I like being homophobic. I just like that they're a strong family. So, like, questionable little takes like that.
Or, like, he's not really he's, like, not really thinking of the full picture. He's like, oh, here's this isolated thing. And then someone's like, okay, but what about the rest of it? And he's like, you know what, that's,
It's okay.
I think with that.
Yeah. So that's kind of how Liam has always been since he got famous. Another important little tidbit to remember for later. Liam Payne, when he got into One Direction, that was actually with his second X Factor audition. 1 or 2 years previously, he had auditioned and I believe gotten up to the judges' houses, which is, so you have the regular auditions, like the televised ones, you have the judges' houses, and then the people who win the judges' houses get on the actual live shows. So he got, like, just before he was on the actual show for the season. And then he was told to, regroup, come back. That's also
important. Which worked out well for him.
That'll be a special mouse couture for later. So, in, I want to say 2019, but so 2019, the band has broken up for a while at this point. Liam Payne starts a new relationship with a model. Her name is Maya Henry. Now, we're going to do some quick math here.
Okay. I unfortunately did finish school, so I don't have an excuse if my math is bad.
born in 1993, currently right now.
Okay.
That makes him
6 years
28.
old. 28, yes.
Yes.
Quick math.
Maya Henry, born in 1999. That makes her currently the very, very end, December 1999.
Oh, that's worse than me. I'm October
Yes.
99. Oh, fun. So she's 20. Hey, we could be buddies. We could be
3 years ago in 2019.
No.
They were 25.
No.
And 1819. There are reports that they knew each other biblically, romantically, before Maya turned 18. That is just speculatory from everything I can gather, but not great.
Yeah.
18 and 25. It's one of those ones that I know there's a lot of discussion about. Personally, I think
wouldn't
it's
date
kind
a
of
19-year-old.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
also,
9 times out of 10, I would not date a 19-year-old now.
I think this might be just a little bit pertinent. Liam Payne, at this point in 2019, has a 2-year-old with an ex-girlfriend. So he is a father. He has a very well-established career. Maya is a model. There's
nothing wrong. Sorry. No, you go.
Sorry. So she's not, uber famous like a Hadid at this point, but she does. It's not like he picked her up from the parking lot of her high school.
I was gonna say there's nothing wrong with like dating single parent, like he's not necessarily quote unquote single parent, but like dating people with kids. But I think the age gap's already whack. But like to bring a 19-year-old in, and obviously this is not your intention when you date someone new. But like at the end of the day, the 19-year-old is going to be a quote unquote parental or authority figure in the life of your child. To bring a 19-year-old in over my 2-year-old kid, like. Don't do that to yourself, 19-year-olds.
It's a delicate situation, and I think all three, so mom, in this case, mom, dad, and dad's new partner, they all three kind of have to be on the same page of how they're introducing it with the child. Liam Payne has kind of had a history of not thinking things through all the way, so there's also they're very, very private about the child, which they're right 100% probably good. So there is no proof if Maya ever even met the kid. Honestly, that's not really our business, but it does add a little bit. It adds a layer to how the relationship might be complicated.
Yeah, it's just that on top of the age gap thing is it compounds everything.
It requires a delicacy that we have not really seen in Liam Payne. Also, when Maya was like 15, 16, well, maybe younger than that, she did get meet and greet tickets to One Direction. So there is a photo of them together when Maya was like a little teenager. I don't think that actually has anything to do with the relationship. I don't think Liam Payne would probably even remember because they were, again, the world's biggest boy band at the time and probably had hundreds of those.
Yeah.
But another thing that's just, from an outside perspective, if you didn't think about it too hard, would be kind of...
Yeah. And like I said with the kid thing, like just that on top of everything else is probably like...
So they got together in 2019. In August 2020, they announced that they were engaged. July 2021, so a little under a year later, they broke up. Later 2021, they got back together and were engaged again.
Oh my God.
A few weeks ago, in, I believe, beginning middle-ish of May, there was a fan account who posted a picture of Liam Payne hugging a woman. There were no faces, but we could see Liam's tattoos and his watch, so you knew it was him. And this fan account in the thing said, Maya and Liam are so cute together. And a bunch of the fans were tagging Maya and, fan stuff, right? They were tagging her saying, oh my god, you guys look so cute, yada yada. Miss Maya Henry commented on that post and said, hey guys, I'm really, I appreciate your support, but that's not me.
Oh. Girl boss.
So this is the beginning of the end.
Oh, I couldn't pick the beginning to the end. Long time now.
Oh,
it's called
absolutely.
Liam Payne auditioned for X Factor the second time, and they let him through.
Oh, don't worry, that comes back. That see, I told you the mystery. So then we through, I guess, internet magic, we find the girl. And Liam Payne is photographed holding hands with her. She's posting pictures of her with Liam Payne on her Instagram story. It's a mess, is what it is.
Yeah.
And
dumpster fire.
Then it comes out that they have officially broken up, shockingly. Some people say that they were broken up prior to the fan account thing happening, and people are like, Maya just said that because, she wanted publicity, and look, go on her Instagram, she posted a paid ad the same exact day. Honestly, I think that's a little misogynistic. I can understand if you're hurting doing something like that. And also, with paid ads with Instagram, like with companies, you have to post them a certain day because you have a contract. There's not a little clause that says if you find out your boyfriend is cheating on you, you can take the day off. Okay? That's just kind of how online marketing works.
Her just commenting really isn't that deep. Like, if she had gone and, like, posted it herself or, like, posted the photo on her story and was like, this is not me, like, that would be taking it to another level. But just to comment on the post of itself and be like, oh, all of you people, I'm probably, like, her mentions, and her notifications are probably flooded with people tagging her in this, just to be like, hey, could you stop tagging me in this? And, like, obviously that wouldn't stand on its own, so she's got to give a reason. Yeah,
she was so nice about it. She was like, I appreciate the support. Because really, they are truly the fans. Yeah. But I believe the exact phrasing was, I appreciate the support, but I really don't like seeing my fiance wrapped around another woman.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
It's not like she could have said it much nicer than that. Besides just a, that's not me. There wasn't, it's not really like I don't think she took it too far or anything. For them to
she was
pushing the blame on her.
Honestly, if that was me, I would not have reacted as nicely. I would have been posting all over my Instagram story, and I would have tried to be getting last-minute brand deals. So it'd be, F this guy, buy flat tummy tea.
Be making bank.
Oh, yeah. I believe that has since died down. But that was kind of the first thing. And then
I have questions. I know you don't have the answer.
Yes.
To these questions.
Please.
One, how did the fan account get this photo, right? Especially if it wasn't Maya and Liam, but Liam and his new girl, that even though everyone thought Liam was with Maya. And then two, well, we don't know for sure if they were still together when he took the photo with the other lady. But, like, if he was, right, if he was still with Maya and then cheating on her, why would you, I'm not trying to put the blame on the lady, this is just a question that popped in my head. If I was with someone who I knew was with someone else, I wouldn't be taking cozy up photos. I'd be keeping that on the DL. You see what I'm saying? If I was cheating on someone, I'd be keeping that on the DL. I wouldn't be taking photos, especially when the internet, first of all, I have probably one of the largest fan bases in the universe, and people on the internet are scary good at finding things.
Scary good.
We would not be taking photos.
Yeah, I don't know how she found. I don't know how the fan account found it.
Because I think I've seen the
oh
photo.
my
And it's not
goodness,
like
I'm so sorry. I just found out that the girl in the photo was actually in one of Liam Payne's videos from a couple years ago. That's not great.
No. Because I was going to say, like, you know how sometimes people are like, oh, they're cheating, and it's like a paparazzi photo, or some fan saw them out. And, like, you know, it could be misconstrued one way or the other. But I've seen the photo. It looked like a selfie sort of photo. So that's why I'm like,
yeah.
how'd you get this?
I am not sure. Again, the girl herself, I guess other woman, was posting photos of them together, so maybe it was one of those.
I thought that was after that photo
it came from it was. So I'm really not sure.
But she was in one of his music videos, so maybe it's
she was, which it's a little.
Listen, he has a type. It's called "We Interacted Once 5 years ago."
Let's go.
And you're hot
Actually,
now.
it's funny that you say that. The mother of Liam's child was one of the judges when he auditioned for X Factor.
Yes, I do know that fact, and I hate that fact. Again, nothing. Listen,
It's
I'm not here
great.
to knock age gap couples, and like, my parents have an age gap. They have been married for like they did everything I think you're not supposed to do. They got married very quickly. They've got like 13, 14 years between the two of them, and they're still together
but my parents are
later.
13 years apart.
Yeah, and like they've been married for 23 years. I know people who like have been together forever and get divorced in 2 mornings. So like I'm not here to knock it, but like I don't know. It's just bad. It's bad.
It's always
also how young was he when he was on X Factor?
I believe he was 18. The second time when she was the judge. It's just for me it's always going to be weird when honestly girl or guy when some person is just very very close to being a teenager. Anywhere from like 18 to even 21 and obviously younger, but that's illegal. Like 18 to 21 with an age gap of 5 years or more, I think that needs a little scrutiny and needs to be handled very maturely and delicately if you both feel that is, it's just, you have to be very careful about it.
Like if one of you is like 40 and the other person's 54, that's different, but like, and one, because you're still, like, you're so close to being a child, like Elanor said, like being a teenager, it's bad, but then two, the amount of growing as a person you do between, like, 18, 19, 20, like, there's a big difference between, I think, an 18 and a 19-year-old, let alone an 18-year-old and a, I don't know, 32-year-old, versus 32 and, I don't know, 40, like, you don't grow as quickly and as drastically.
And that's another thing. I think this is true for both of our parents who, again, the same age gap. They both met at work. So they're both at the point where they have independent jobs. So, like, it's a lot different than...
They're established. They're people. They, like, have rounded lives. They're not, like, going home to their mommies at the end of the day,
Yeah. So, that's the first thing.
How are we only on the first thing? I feel like this episode should be over already, and we haven't even gotten into the recent, like, the big thing.
Exactly 1 week after the...
Oh, my man said, go big or go home.
Liam Payne's episode of the imPAULsive podcast with Logan Paul dropped. He said some things that were...
He said so many things.
Interesting. I think the first thing that needs to be talked about is so a little context. A couple of years, Zayn Malik, Gigi Hadid dated for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago,
Have a baby.
Jake Paul, who is Logan Paul's brother, tweeted something about how, like, he and Zayn were in the same hotel for some event and Zayn didn't say hi, or he was rude for something along those lines. And Gigi Hadid tweeted at Jake Paul and basically said, shut up. And then said something like, get yourself a respectful king. So there is some background within the Paul family and the One Direction sphere. Mm-hmm. This was brought up in the interview. And the first thing Liam Payne said was that Gigi's get yourself a respectful man tweet did not age well. This goes back to the grandpa saying things. I believe what he meant was just because they had broken up since then. But then he kept running his mouth, and I'm not sure I agree with that anymore. He talked about, obviously Zayn was brought up, because as I said, Zayn left the band. And Liam Payne basically said that Zayn, he was talking about how he, can kind of understand some of Zayn's actions. He did not really specify what he meant. And he said that Zayn did not have a lot of support growing up, and that, when you don't have a supportive family, sometimes you're bound to make bad decisions, essentially. I think that was a little bit racist. And let me get into that. Again, Zayn is the only
airing out the man's dirty laundry. Like, even if there wasn't the race issue, you don't need to be like, he came from a broken home, so we gotta forgive him. Like, don't, you can say it, but don't say it like that.
Here's the thing. I believe Zayn Malik's parents are still together. And
he was wrong? He said that with his whole chest and he was wrong about it?
And one thing that Zayn is kind of known for is in the One Direction documentary. One of the first things Zayn did with his boy band money was buy his parents a house. And he's got his dad's name tattooed down his neck. And if you read his book, which I have, obviously,
of course,
he talks a lot about how he, deeply respects his dad, and just there seems to be, from what,
there's a clear discrepancy between what Mr. Payne was waffling on about and the reality, which if anyone should know the reality better than us listening to the Logan Paul podcast for whatever reason we're listening to it, it would be the man who was in a band with the person.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree when you cry, like, people cry. It's racist that he said that, but, like, for him to be so flat out wrong on top of saying that, then yeah, there's definitely something else.
Yeah. And it's just bold to go after Zayn Malik's parents' parenting when, you have a kid who, again, they try to keep it private. He does not mention the kid, kind of, at all. Mm-hmm. The kid's mother does, like, the face obscured kind of Instagram posts every so often, and seems to kind of possibly have more custody than Liam Payne might. So it's like, maybe get your relationship with your kid right before you go after.
Yeah, if you want to talk about, like, family structure and yada yada, even if this is not your intention and you all are great co-parents, at the end of the day, that child is coming from a quote-unquote broken home. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been proven to cause problems. So,
Yeah. Also,
yeah.
like, not to get into everybody in One Direction's business, I think Liam Payne and Zayn Malik, they're the only ones whose parents are still together. So, like, if you're going to say that somebody from One Direction, you know, has a broken home or, like, a bad upbringing, maybe go after, like, one of the
Anyone
ones
else?
whose parents divorced, you
Anyone
know?
else? You had 4 options.
And,
Like,
yeah. So I don't know. He also kind of insinuated that Zayn was violent. He wasn't, like, outwardly racist, and I don't think... it was definitely just not... There were undertones that I just don't like, essentially.
yeah, probably he wasn't, like, it doesn't sound like intentional racism, but, like, maybe subconsciously was there,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. And then he wasn't very considerate about how he phrased things, so it kind of came through.
Which, again, kind of goes back to the grandpa thing of sometimes
Yeah,
he'll just
exactly.
say things and you're like, something's not right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's more.
There's more.
Oh, he also says in it that there were many reasons he dislikes Zayn, but there's also many reasons that he'll always be on his side. And he tweeted something that was like, guys, you just, maybe I didn't say things right, and, I wouldn't normally comment on this, but, we're family. Zayn is my brother. I'll stand by him forever. I'm like, shut
It's
up.
too late now.
I know you're
Sometimes-
trying to do damage control, but you're not doing it very well.
I believe strongly in the power of shutting up, and sometimes it's okay to just, like, especially if you've already stuck your foot in it, sometimes it's okay to just leave. Because here, whatever he's saying somehow made it worse in his attempt to make it better.
Yeah, which is honestly what he's always done. So I guess at the very least,
He's consistent.
he's consistent.
Because, like, if he misspoke, and we can chalk it up to the grandpa thing we've been saying, right? But then for him to come back and then try to do damage control, it's like, oh, he realized that he did something wrong, and now there's intention behind what he's saying, but what he's saying is still stupid.
Yeah, and like it's like he was apologizing for quote unquote being mean to Zayn, but it's like that's not really why. That wasn't really the issue, because you're allowed to, have beef with someone, and to a point you're allowed to talk about that beef, but
Yeah.
don't, even if, he wasn't happy growing up, that's not really the public kind of perception. And if he was deeply unhappy because of his family life, that's not something Zayn has ever said, so you don't have any right to
Yeah, that's
be
not
the
your
person
place
who...
to share that.
Yeah.
If it's
But
your
don't
parents,
you
go for it.
worry. There's more.
Oh, I was nervous.
So this one is a little bit... That's kind of the biggest issue. Liam Payne said that his debut single outsold everyone in the band. So it kind of depends on what he meant by that. And I looked into it.
Listen, it'd be a miracle if he knew what he meant by that, honestly.
If you're going just from pure numbers, it's an absolute laughable joke that he outsold everyone in the band. But it does look like his single got to 1 billion streams the fastest out of everyone else's debut single. So if you're just going by how well the debut single did, it got to 1 billion streams the fastest. It was not the first one to get to 1 billion streams, because there were, I believe he was the 4th single overall. And so the ones released earlier got to 1 billion streams. But he did get that the fastest between release and 1 billion.
Okay.
So from
If
that
we're giving
perspective,
him the benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, if we are, then yes. In that way, it seems that is correct. His solo career is, yes.
It's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's so just so, not delusional, but like delusional on like out of pocket on everything else. It's kind of hard for, in this one instance, to be like, well, technically he's right, but might not be what he meant given his track record.
You definitely don't. He's not someone where it's easy to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
It would be different, if this was kind of the first time that he'd said things, but it's a history. Also, in the band, he talked about how there were some issues. Now, one of the things we have known forever, it's been said quite a while, there were quite a few times, that Liam Payne and Louis Tomlinson did not get along in the early part of the band. I don't know why people are reporting on this, because, no offense, if you've spent time, being actively involved in the fandom, we've known that for a while. But he did say that. He also said that there was a fight during the band's run where Liam Payne got thrown up against the wall. And we got just the glorious quote. Liam said that he said, "If you don't remove those hands, there's a high likelihood that you'll never use them again." Which, honestly, that's Liam Payne writing fan fiction. But I admire his creativity.
I would pay good money to have seen him say that in person.
Oh, I would have paid money to get CCTV of the incident.
Be a fly on the wall for that.
I
had a great point, but I forgot it.
Okay, well, you have time. The final point is that Liam Payne claimed that One Direction was modeled after him. And that he was kind of the starting point. And honestly, I kind of believe this one. Because if you watch his very first audition at the judge's house, Simon Cowell does tell him that if he comes back, he'll have a real shot at it. And I would not be surprised if that, and I guess Simon's belief in Liam played a part in him either being put in the band or the idea that a boy band should be created out of the cut acts. That one, again, not the right way to tell the story or the right place to tell the story.
No.
But I almost believe that. At least a little bit.
And I think I have a slightly, I reached the same conclusion, but a slightly different perspective because I don't know One Direction, whereas you know what their strengths are and stuff. But I can kind of see it, and I saw someone explain it in the sense of NSYNC, where when NSYNC started, it was very clear they were pushing one guy to be the front man. But as time went on, it was clear that Justin Timberlake was, he had the charisma and the X factor. So for Liam Payne, it's not, a lot of people are like, that's delusional because X, Y, and Z was the star. So for him to say that is not totally out of pocket. What I do remember, I didn't watch the interview, but I I'm getting it secondhand from the internet. And I know they said that Liam Payne said basically Simon Cowell had him at his house one time and privately told him, like, you're going to be the main thing. And my argument there was, I'm pretty sure Simon Cowell told him that at his house in private for a reason. And that was not the time, as Elanor said, or the place to be airing out Simon Cowell's master plan, even though, One Direction is... Mm-hmm. Has been established. It's not over, but we're like well past the point where that would be devastating news for Simon Cowell. But like still, and like honestly, he could have said that to all of them just to keep morale up. Just keep them all, bring them all to the house a different day of the week and be like, you're the real star of the band. But don't tell the others.
I know Zen just left. Don't quit. I did it. But if you listen to their first album, the two members whose vocals are featured at a crazy disproportionate amount are Liam and Harry. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of, or even on the live shows, Liam and Harry got a lot of verses. They sang a lot more than everyone else. So if you look at that as well, you can kind of see where he might be coming from. Everyone knows that Harry Styles
you don't need a front
wasn't
man,
as the breakout star.
Like yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you do. Especially, like, boy bands typically function as there's one heartthrob, and then everyone else kind of appeals to a more niche group.
Exactly. Like, it's not like... And I don't think this is fair, but obviously, like, in more traditional bands, like, I don't know, like we're talking about My Chemical Romance, like, you have a singer, he's very clearly the front man, like, that's the one people kind of tend to focus on. And in a boy band, it's a little different since they're all kind of bringing the same thing to the table, if that makes sense. Because they're not playing instruments, so everyone's singing. We're all singing for our lives. So, like, you do need those tropes. I think that's one time where tropes are good to lean into. Like you said, you got a heartthrob, you got the bad boy, you got the goofy one.
Heartthrob, bad boy. You usually have kind of an all-American kind of guy. Yeah.
Not here, though.
You have the mysterious one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't the mysterious one and the bad boy kind of the same?
Sometimes, but not always.
Okay, fair enough.
I can link my thesis in the description.
If anyone wants to read it.
Another thing, just real quick, just because I would, I just think it's a little important to note, and then we will kind of get into our final talks. A couple years ago, Liam Payne came out and said that during the band, and then again during lockdown, he had a problem with alcoholism. Mm-hmm. And then during the podcast with Logan Paul, he was sat drinking whiskey and had 2 or 3 drinks throughout the hour-long episode. So it is very possible that he is, he was not completely in his right mind. Not that excuses what he said, but it is a little bit, it is a layer that I think is a little bit important to mention, just because that is something that he has himself said that he has had a problem with, and it does seem like he is back drinking alcohol. That does not mean he is, back as bad as it was or anything like that, but everyone handles sobriety differently. That's just something that happened. But that kind of concludes all the points.
I saw like a lot of tweets especially about the frontman thing and the outsold thing, and someone was like, I'm pretty sure it was Bryce Hall, which was the worst part of this whole adventure. It was like the worst people on the internet you agreed with, right? But Bryce Hall was like, what do you mean you outsold? I saw you walking around drunk at Coachella while Harry Styles was headlining Coachella at the same time. So, like, stop being delusional. And then people in the
Yeah.
replies were like, also, I've just discovered Twitter, and it's the worst place on the internet, okay? I get lost for it's not important, but I get lost for so long on Twitter because just the opinions people have are the worst opinions you've ever heard in your life. And they be saying it one with their whole chest, and it's like multiple people agree with them.
They just, yeah, no, 100%. I agree. People just say things and people agree with them. And I don't know how.
Sometimes you open the comments and like you expect it to be overwhelmingly like a reasonable take, and like maybe you get some like debates back and forth, but like 9 times out of 10 you open a Twitter thread and it's the worst take you've ever heard in your life, and then 100 people going, yeah, I agree. And then I have to log off of my phone for a very long time.
The worst place for that is like there's accounts that post the Am I the Asshole subreddit, and it'll be a story that's like, my husband's mom told me that I can't cook, and so one time I brought a really bad meal to a family cookout, and then my husband threatened to divorce me over it. Where it's like, the wife, sure, maybe was a little bit in the wrong and was a little bit petty, but like the real issue is that the husband just will not stand up to his mother. But all the takes are like, that wife could have killed somebody, bad cooking kills.
Oh my goodness,
and it's like, shut up.
Oh, I don't want to get into it. I saw this terrible one about, I sent it to Elanor. I was like, I text Elanor, I was like, I could be here for 500 hours explaining to you why every single one of these is wrong. But basically this lady talking about the Queen, and she was like, I don't get why people like, because the Queen had like her little Jubilee celebration, and they were like, she was like, I just don't understand why people idolize her. Like, what does she do? And the host of the show were like, I respect my queen and I'm loyal to my queen. And the lady was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but like, why? Like, what does she do? And they're like, she carries herself with grace and she works hard. And the lady was like, yeah, I would work hard too if like I was getting free money for doing nothing, just for being born into the right family. And everyone was like, oh my God, how can she say that? She must hate the queen. Did you listen to her? Anyway, the moral of the story, right, is on Twitter, Bryce Hall was like, blah, 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 blah. I saw you drinking while Harry Styles was headlining Coachella. And then people were like, oh, how could you say that? He has spoken about how he's had an alcohol problem before, so it's really disrespectful. And like stuff along those lines about his drinking problem. And then someone else, which was the only voice of reason I saw in this whole thread, was like, yes, that's a valid point, and like, yes, he does have issues with alcohol, but like that doesn't justify being a butthead, essentially. Like that doesn't give him a free pass to say whatever he wants and drag down other people.
And especially like, again, Kalina and I are very sensitive to addiction, and we are by no means the expert in anything. But it does seem like he has gotten help before, and so at least in the past, he has been able to recognize when he might need to take a step back and seek help in some way. And
I mean, they say the first step to solving the problem is admitting you have one. He's clearly done that.
Yeah, he has done that before. And again, I think every time is different, and it's all very circumstantial. But, like, it's not like this is the first time he's had a problem and he's still, like, in deep denial of there even being a problem. He has shown at least some level of being self-aware enough to help himself in the past. And
I
also,
like, not to bring up Pete Davidson, but when he does those, like in SNL, when he used to talk to Kanye, right? And he's like, you having a mental illness, for example, is not an excuse to be a terrible person. Like, yeah, it might explain it might explain your behavior. It doesn't justify it.
Exactly. And honestly, I saw some tweets that were like, oh, Liam Payne needs money real bad. My thing is like, you know what he could have done? He could have made one tweet with just the vaguest hint at a reunion, and I think that would have paid his bills for at least a year.
Like, even if that was the reason he did all of this, then one, that's stupid because, like Elanor said, there's other options, and two, like, that's definitely not the reason he did this. Like, even if he's like flying off the handle, at the end of the day, especially like it's not a little bit different on a podcast, I think, because you have to go there and speak, but like, you know, like a tweet or something, like he has a team behind him. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't.
You would
at the end of the day, this wasn't. Yeah, like, and like clearly the team doesn't seem like they're doing a great job of managing Liam Payne, but like at the end of the day, it's not like he just got there by himself. You know, like he had a team who bolstered him as he became famous and like put him in a place. Like I'm sure Liam Payne off the top of his head wasn't like, oh, you know what would be really good for my image, to go on Logan Paul's podcast. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like he got there entirely by himself. Unfortunately, he did take it and run with it a little further than anyone could carry him. But, you know, you win some, you lose some.
And just, I think part of the problem is that Logan Paul, first of all, nobody likes him. But the only other, like, past link that he had was the thing with Jake Paul and Zayn. And, like, just pick somebody where... Because that, I just feel like, was going to get brought up. And that's just not setting yourself up for success.
I just wonder
really,
if it would
truly
have
isn't.
been as much of a thing if he was on anyone else's podcast. Like, what he said was bad, obviously. But, like, would anyone have... Like, everything I saw was, like, Liam said this stupid thing. And Howard... And, like, but there were a lot of them that were, like, how do you go on Logan Paul's podcast and there's somehow the worst person in the room? You know, like stuff like that.
Exactly.
So like, he just inherently had a comparison, or like inherently had a bar, and he just did not reach it at all. He just dug beneath it.
Like, yeah, it was a cluster. And honestly, I think that this might be the last we hear about Liam Payne for a while. At least as far as his personal... I think he's doing a charity thing in a couple weeks. And that's good. You know what? Be quiet. Do some charity work. If you need more help, go get it. I think that, you know, boy band fans, especially, like, if you get them as teenage girls, like me, honestly, we're fairly forgiving, you know? Liam Payne kind of is in a good spot where he has a fan base that is kind of willing to forgive a lot of things because they already have. And
right? And then on Twitter, that little hashtag "We love you, Liam" was trending, which like is a valiant effort, and like I agree, not everything he said was probably as big of an issue as it was blown out to be. But a lot of them were like just straight up like, it's not his fault he said what he said, and Logan Paul like tricked him into it. And like from my end, again, I didn't listen to the podcast, right? But from what the clips I saw and like what I heard, it wasn't like Logan Paul like was asking loaded questions or tricky questions and kind of taking what Liam said out of context and rephrasing it. Yeah, it was Logan Paul just like said something, and Liam Payne talked for 20 minutes, just no filter. That's not like to an extent you can I can see how you could blame an interviewer for taking things out of context, and I mean like newspaper headlines do it all the time, but that wasn't really the case here. Not to defend Logan Paul, but like,
honestly, he was getting just lowball questions and just getting whatever the bad version of a gold mine is.
And then, like what you said, like talking about things that you would expect to be brought up, like Zayn having problems with his brother. Like a common sense will tell you that's going to come up at some point in time. Zayn leaving the band that you were in that was wildly successful is going to come up.
Prepare for it.
You didn't even have like a little bit of a game plan on how to address those issues, rather than going, oh yeah, Zayn's home life sucked. Like,
and the thing is, like the brother, like the Jake Paul Zayn thing, I'm sure that kind of, I don't think it's really been addressed by anyone who is actively involved in it except for Logan Paul, or sorry, Jake Paul, who, you know, was literally part of it. Why couldn't you have just said, you know, I wasn't there, or, you know, Zayn and I don't really talk now, or, you know, even the little dig at how Gigi's tweet didn't, you know, age well. I think that if that's where he would have stopped, because I mean, it's a little funny. It didn't. They have broken up now. You know,
it's funny. It like he's again at the end. He's a human. He's entitled to his feelings. If he feels slighted by someone in the band, like even if it's not his business to air out Zayn's dirty laundry, but if he felt slighted, if they had problems, that's something he does have the right to talk about. Now the way he went about it, bad. But like, you know, it's not like he was completely wrong for why he said what he said, if that makes sense. But what he said was bad.
Like, if he were to have just talked about it solely from his perspective,
exactly,
that would have been like, you don't really need to try to analyze why Zayn made the decisions that he made. You just need to be like, you know,
Zayn made this
or
decision,
even
I didn't like it.
If you do have those ideas, just say, you know, we were really close. You know, we knew a lot about each other, so on some levels, I can kind of understand why he did this, but it still hurt. Like that, you know, and does it in a way where, you know, you're kind of being fair to both sides, but you're not overstepping. But I will say, if Kalina and I ever break up, professionally.
Oh, I will be running your info down the street.
Oh yeah, I'm just, all of your dirty laundry, it's going to be out there.
All
just
about my
every
big
single
forehead.
piece of it. Your big forehead.
Bigger hair. Shut up. Actually, you know what? If Liam Payne brought up something about my lazy eye, I think he deserved to get shoved into a wall. So if he did the equivalent of that to any of the members of One Direction, he deserved it. That's how I'm just gonna say that with my full chest. Liam Payne deserved to get shoved into a wall. I'm not sorry.
Honestly, look.
I think everyone maybe should get
probably
shoved into a wall once in their life.
Oh, absolutely.
Feels
And I would have to imagine if they, like, One Direction kind of lived and worked on top of each other for years on end. There were bound to be times, especially as, you know, teenage boys, there was bound to be a time where tensions ran high and things got physical. Honestly, that's
I was about to say, this is obviously not on the same scale, but, like, I've played a team sport for several years, and we weren't touring the world, and like we didn't have to live together, but like it's all the same, so it's worse for them for One Direction. But like being up under someone and doing for the most part the same thing day in and day out, in their case, you know, rehearsing and going to the studio and just being in the same space doing the same thing every day with the same people, like the little things that like might take you years to notice and like probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, you have to notice all the time and can't escape them. Like, yeah, and then, like you said, teenage boys. Like,
even, like,
no one's having a good time.
You and I lived together for a while. There were points where we were just, we didn't hit each other in the face, but, like, there were points where we were just sick of each other, and we needed a couple days of you doing your thing and me doing my thing. Because
That's why, like, I liked when you had your history class, and I had French class, and then we weren't in the same classroom for 2 hours, and it was great. Did I text you the whole time about what was happening in my French class?
Yes.
You need space.
But there were times where Kalina would go do something and I would go do something else. And you know what? That time away made us like each other a little bit more when we came back.
I knew, I was like, I can't wait. I can't get to go back home and tell Elanor what happened. Like, But like if we had been together, it would have been bad.
Yeah, if we had been together all the time, or even, honestly, if we were slightly different people, because I do think that we kind of, a little bit different to One Direction. Just a little bit, though, don't worry. In all other ways, we are exactly the same.
Identical.
You know, we kind of chose to be the ones who I kind of chose
Yeah.
you as who I wanted to spend all my time with, and you did the same with me, whereas One Direction, we're kind of thrown together. But, you know, that's just what happens when you live that close. Also, Liam Payne did not say, "Well, you better take my hands off me, or you guarantee you'll never use them." No, he didn't. Okay? Maybe in your head that's what you wanted to say, but what you probably did was say, sorry, and leave. Okay?
Maybe he did. I have met a person or two, and by a person or two I mean myself, who be saying some out of pocket stuff. So.
Well, Kalina, that's because you have been wanting to be justified in some sort of physical altercation for quite a while, and you have been preparing.
I think I'm so nice, and like I'm really good at curbing the voice in my head and the things I say. And then Elanor and I have another friend at home.
Okay, Fight
who
Club.
I'll like tell them stories, and they're like, "Kalina, that's like you can't say those things." And I'm like, "Wait, that was the nice version of what I thought in my head. What do you mean?"
I will say though, Kalina is great to have on a night out, because if some guy like tries to come up to me, I'll be like, "Hey, Kalina, you want to finally punch someone in the face?"
I'm like, "Yeah, please." Listen, you just got to give me a reason. Not even a good reason, just any reason, and I'll do it.
It does have to be a good reason. Okay, we do.
I mean, I would prefer a good reason, but for my own sake, I just need a reason to punch you in the face. Anyway, we've been here for entirely too long.
Yes.
And I think I'm talking myself into a lawsuit in the future.
A little bit.
Like, if I ever get arrested in the future, they're going to find
We'll
this.
have to delete this episode, yeah.
They're going to pull a John Mulaney. You know that John Mulaney bit? Not that we support John Mulaney here. But you know that John Mulaney bit where he's like talking about his friend getting sued in college? And then John Mulaney's texts that are like, "Do you want me to kill that guy for you? Because he sucks, and I'll totally kill him for you." That's going to be, that for me.
Yeah, a little bit.
So we're going to go. But this was fun.
We are. It was fun.
Tad stressful, but fun.
A little bit stressful. I don't think we support Liam Payne here on this podcast, but
No.
we do support.
I called him Liam and Do Better Payne once, and I stand by that.
Yeah. But what we do support is everybody having a safe and happy Pride Month.
Yes.
We will likely be back with at least one Pride-themed episode later in the month. Stick with us, though. We are going through some personal changes that might require a little bit longer in between episodes. If you would like updates on that, please hit us up on Instagram. That's where we post most kind of scheduling things. And
we're also on TikTok and Twitter.
Kalina,
although if you have bad takes on Twitter, I will block you. I'm reserving the right to block everybody.
But if you have like bad but funny takes, we do reserve the right to
steal them?
air them out on this platform. And maybe steal them. But thank you.
Anyway, I've been Kalina.
I have been Elanor.
And we will be back before the month ends.
We sure will. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.
Thanks for listening. Don't quote me on that. One day we'll have an outro, but it's not today.